Hello everyone and welcome to today's pick a card reading. So today we're going to be looking at how you are seen through the eyes of spirit and your spirit guides, guardians, angels. So I felt this idea for a series come through this morning and it feels like spirit wants to work with your self-image through these readings and kind of transforming, just leaving a different impression in your psyche of who you are and how you are seen. So we're going to start out today with how you're seen through the eyes of spirit, but I feel a series coming through where we're going to look at how you're seen through the eyes of love, in love relationships, how you're seen by the eyes of your friends, and how you're seen through the eyes of nature, from animals, pets, trees, the land, things like this. So yes, today's reading, we're going to see how your guides see you on a soul level, how spirit sees you, your purpose, your strengths, the areas that spirit is supporting you with. We'll just see what messages come through. So there will be 4 piles today, and yeah, go ahead and choose your reading and then stay tuned for the rest of this series. Group 1, you chose Be Real, full moon in Aquarius. So powerful. I feel spirit sees you as a very powerful soul. I feel like your spirit guides and spirit, they see the real you. They really see the real you. And I think that you are an authentic person. I even think people in your life would describe you as an authentic person. Maybe you would even describe yourself as an authentic person. You're very real. But there is something about people still not quite seeing you. There's something here about, people not quite seeing you still. There's something about you are very real, but it might not always be interpreted in the right way. Or there might be some kind of like misunderstanding or misinterpretation. Or like people might not always see your genius or your creative genius. They might not always see the vision or understand where you're coming from. And I think this is because you're super high vibrational, and it's just like how a lot of people don't really resonate with light language, or they don't understand it, right? It's like, that's totally fine, but it's, for some people, it makes perfect sense and it's like magic. So I feel like your guides kind of see like that, like they see you as that you're not for everyone, but they also see you and you make perfect sense to them and you are like magic to them. I feel like there's something that you're going through at a soul level that they're acknowledging around being seen for who you are. Like, I feel like you're really brave and you put yourself out there and you're honest and you just like are who you are, and you're kind of like, well, I can't really, do anything about it. But I do feel there's some kind of, like story arc is what I'm being shown, where you're going to have some kind of change happen with your authenticity and how that is received. Because there's something, like I said, about how it's almost like wires are being crossed, or there's like miscommunication, or there's misinterpretation. I don't know, somehow the image that you're projecting out is sometimes getting distorted in the world around you in a way that spirit and your spirit guides, like, it's not distorted for them. And for some reason, there is some distortion about how it's being perceived in this dimension sometimes. And I think it's also because you have a really high frequency energy. You're very high frequency, a very high consciousness level. And that is obviously not going to be accessible to everybody. It's almost like an accessibility thing. Like people might not be kind of on your level to kind of see your genius for what it is. They can't understand. They don't speak your language or something. So, but the thing is that I feel like this sense of obscurity, because I feel this sense of obscurity where it's like you might feel a bit obscured, or like your work is seen as strange, or you're seen as strange maybe, because the shadow energy of Aquarius can kind of be about being a bit like of a loner or left out in a crowd, like alienated or not fitting in, things like this. So I do feel that in your soul's energy, and your spirit guides are acknowledging it because they really want you to know how like lovable you are and how amazing they think you are. Like they really see you in a way that is very honest and very raw. And it's in a way that I feel like you're going to be able to experience this level of, being comfortable and at home, the way that you would feel, the way that I feel you feel with spirit when you feel the eyes of spirit with you. Sometimes we get that perspective of our life through spirit's eyes, and it's like a miracle. In that moment, we can see something about our life with such grace or with such deep love, or we can see ourselves with such deep love, and it's very, very healing. So yeah, I'm being shown the contrast between like how spirit and your spirit guides see you and how you receive the way that you are seen by spirit versus how you are seen by the earth people and how that makes you feel. And it's very different. So there's a lot of like love and trust, and I feel like your connection with spirit actually makes you able to be so authentic in the world. I think because you have this connection, this faith to spirit, that it just allows you to be really authentic. And you know, I'm really unpacking this energy because spirit wants me to talk about it for you. Even though this is how spirit sees you through the eyes of spirit, like spirit keeps wanting to talk about how humans see you through the eyes of humans. And I'm getting that sometimes people actually are really taken aback by your light, because you have a really bright light and a really bright aura, and you have a lot of strong, high frequency, like powerful energy going through you. Like, you are a powerful being. That's the first thing I was struck with. Like, you're the full moon. Like, that's a potent activating energy. So I think you have this impact on people that you might not always realize that you're having, because spirit's saying you can get kind of caught up in the earth kind of side of things. And spirit's like, well, if you could really see the dynamic from spirit's eyes, this is what spirit wants to give you through this reading. It's like seeing yourself through spirit's eyes, the way that spirit sees you interact with people. Because I think there's this misunderstanding that's going on, that spirit wants to clear some things up. So when you have people, like, so this is what I'm getting, is like that you have this really high frequency energy, and you're super kind and loving and authentic and raw and able to be vulnerable and able to hold space for someone, and just showing up as this like really kind of like an earth angel. And I think a lot of people are actually taken aback by this, and they don't know how to respond, and they don't know how to meet you there in that high frequency and in that love and in that joy and in that community spirit that you have. Like, you're such a friend on the path. Like, you really are super kind and gracious and generous with everyone that you meet. And so I think that like people really find this quite hard to actually receive, and they find it quite hard to meet, and they find it a bit too much, or that's how it might be, like that's how it might feel to you. It's like people don't know how to receive the gift of who you are. And that's what spirit wants you to see, is that it's not that you're not a gift, it's that it's almost like too much light for someone to hold, and they don't know how to do it. So they might be rejecting or not interested or act like you're weird or strange or something. But it's actually like, spirit really wants you to see it for kind of what it is, where, you know how sometimes, if you've ever had this happen, where it's like you smile at a stranger, but then they can't smile back at you, and they kind of look, you know, disgruntled and kind of look away. It's kind of that energy. And spirit's saying, like, don't stop smiling at strangers just because some people can't smile back. They can't meet you there in that. Because it's still a beautiful energy to bring to the world. And it's kind of like spirit wants you to see the purity of your energy and the way that you just bring love and light to your situations that you're in and to the people that you meet on the path. And that sometimes this light intensity is actually technically kind of too much for people, and they might reject it because it's like their nervous system even doesn't know how to filter this. Like, they can't really, it's not fully going in. Like, they're not even conscious of this, by the way. They're not consciously thinking like, oh my God, this person has too much light and I don't know what to do about it. They're just like, you know, subconsciously kind of reacting and feeling a bit overwhelmed, or feeling rejecting, or feeling, acting in a way that probably doesn't feel very nice. Like, I'm just getting that you bring this beauty and this purity to the world, but it's not really met very often. It's often met by maybe jealousy, or, you know, energies that is just not very welcoming or receiving of you. And yeah, I feel like this can make you feel a bit like left out, or wondering like what's going on, because I think that you genuinely have this coded energy for New Earth. I'm getting New Earth energy now with this Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, right? It's like you genuinely have this energy for New Earth, where I feel like you go around the earth and you really feel like people are your people. Like, people are your, what's the word? Like, you kind of see people as being part of your earth family, and you're like, hey, like a brother, a sister, a friend on the path. And that warmth isn't really being met very often. And spirit sees this, and spirit really wants you to understand that that is not because you are not lovable, or because you're weird, or because you're an alien, or anything like that, although you might identify as a little bit of an alien, a starseed kind of energy. But it's not because there's anything wrong with you. And spirit really wants you to see that, because spirit sees you through the eyes of spirit. which is what this reading is. And Spirit just sees you as so much light, like you're the full moon, right? This is a moon deck, so it's like just moons, but you're the full moon, and it's like you're so bright and shiny and amazing. And sometimes that brightness makes people look away and not connect with you. And Spirit really doesn't want you to see that as a reflection of yourself, because it takes a lot of vulnerability and bravery and authenticity to be able to connect with you on the vibration that you're putting out and that you're offering to people. So the thing is that I do see this changing. Like I was saying, I don't think this feeling of being a little bit alien or feeling weird or strange or like, you know, maybe even wanting to really avoid, sometimes you might get into states of wanting to avoid social interaction because it feels so uncomfortable sometimes. And it's like, why is this so unpleasant? Like I'm not, and Spirit really wants you to know, like, you're not doing anything wrong. Like you're just meeting people where they're at, and people have all kinds of different energies, and some of them is kind of unpleasant. Anyway, I do feel this changing though, where this sense of, like I said, not being received or like not being seen for how amazing and bright and loving and what an amazing frequency it is that you're putting out. It's like, that's going to be changing. And I do see you finding your people and embracing the weirdness, like letting that weirdness be okay, rather than being like, oh, I have to hide this thing about myself, or this person's going to judge me, or whatever it might be. Because yeah, I just see with Aquarius energy, that's about like finding your people, finding your community, finding your niche as well. So Spirit's saying like, never stop being real. The King of Swords, wow, super intelligent as well. And the Nine of Swords. Okay, so how does Spirit see you through the eyes of Spirit? Overthinking. Okay, that's what Spirit wants you to see. That there's a lot of things that you're anxious about that you actually don't need to be anxious about. There's a lot of things that you're anxious about because you're thinking that you have to achieve everything yourself without the help from Spirit or magic or miracles, or you're thinking in a very like logical black and white kind of way with the King of Swords. The King of Swords is a really cool card, but the shadow energy of it is like, you know, being too materialistic, kind of logical, rational, materialist kind of energy, which can really cut us off from Spirit. You know, it's kind of, you know, can become very atheistic, even like nihilistic quite quickly. So you have this very strong connection to Spirit. Like I said, it's the reason why I think you can be so authentic and real in the world when so many people struggle with that, and so many people struggle to offer such light and purity in connection, and in, you know, just meeting a stranger on the street, you offer so much light. And some people reject that, and some people can't handle that, and Spirit really wants you to see it differently and be like, that's not something that you need to take personally and like feel is a reflection of you, because you're kind of unconditionally offering this light no matter where you go. So the way that people react to that is kind of, you know, a part of the landscape of life. So I think you're going to get a lot better at this over time. I think that it's just a lot of light to handle being in this world. And I think, again, you're so wired for community and connection, and having so many people not be able to meet you in community and connection can be very strange. And it can feel very lonely sometimes as well. So Spirit's saying you don't have to worry as much as you're worrying in life. So many more things are coming in for you that you can't see, and so many things that you are worrying about are going to just resolve themselves, and so many things in the past that you've worried about did resolve themselves, and Spirit's trying to remind you of that. How many things have happened that you were really worried about, but it turned out to be actually fine, or it turned out to end really well. So Spirit has your back more than you realize, and Spirit wants you to know that Spirit does. There's a lot that I'm seeing that Spirit saying you're worrying, but look, you're forgetting about Spirit. See this owl here? This owl coming in. It's like there's another kind of layer here to everything in life that's very spiritual, that's very magical, and you are connected to that. But I think sometimes you feel cut off from that, or you feel, you know, really caught up in worry and fear. And of course, this is the times when Spirit really can't reach you, right? Because I'm feeling this energy like Spirit seeing you being cut off from Spirit. I'm seeing the energy of Spirit not being able to get through. And then that just makes everything feel worse, because when you feel cut off from Spirit, everything in life feels like 10 times worse. So what's your advice here, Spirit? Yeah. Just remember the truth that Spirit's there. Like, I think that there's some distortions that can come. Like I said, it almost becomes like, nihilistic in a way when we have those perspectives. So advice from Spirit is about always to remember your power. There's something here because the Sun and the Justice card, that makes me think of like your free will, the way that you navigate the world through your free will, the power that we have in every moment to make choices. And I think Spirit's saying sometimes you might think that things can't change or that you can't achieve something sometimes or something like this. And Spirit's saying, remember how powerful you feel when you're one with Spirit, when you're one and you can see yourself through the eyes of Spirit, when you can feel connected to that frequency. That's very empowering. And Spirit's saying this is the most accurate way to perceive yourself, is when you feel that connection to Spirit, that oneness with Spirit, and you also subsequently then feel all is possible, that feeling of expansion where it's like all is possible, and the answers can come to you and solutions can be found. And it's very much like the new earth, this energy of a miracle where it's like, you know, there's many things in the earth that are very, very sad, like the pollution, you know, animals being endangered, all these kinds of things. But it's like there is hope. There is hope for renewal, for a rebirth, for a change. And so many of us have downloaded this about the new earth. And I just feel this sense of Spirit saying to remember that and apply that in your own life, because I feel that sometimes you experience that split between old earth and new earth in your own kind of life. And this King of Swords, Nine of Swords, you know, is very, like I said, very cut off from Spirit is the feeling I get from that, where even our mind, our thoughts, our beliefs, the way that we're thinking about things can cut us off energetically. So Spirit's saying, remember your power with the Sun and Justice, and you have the power to create change. Like you are creating change. Like I think Spirit's saying, Spirit wants you to see through the eyes of Spirit how powerful you are, how powerful just a simple thing as your free will is. And remember that when you feel disempowered or cut off or like things are all on your shoulders, remember how different life looks when you have Spirit with you and you can see again through the eyes of Spirit. Okay, group 1, that's the end of your reading, but I do hope you enjoyed it, and links are in the description if you want to check out more of my work. Okay, group number 2, how you are seen through the eyes of Spirit, clear your mind, last quarter moon in Gemini. So I feel Spirit thinks you're funny. I feel like you're funny. I feel like you have a way in your mind where, you know, Spirit's saying, okay, this is really interesting. Spirit's saying, and your guides are saying, like, never feel like you're laughing alone at a joke. You know how some people think like it's embarrassing to laugh at your own joke? You know, that kind of classic thing where it's like, oh, you're laughing at your own joke. Spirit's saying never feel like you're alone laughing at your own joke. Your Spirit is always there laughing with you. Your spirit guides are always your team, your guardians, angels, they're always there laughing with you. They think you're hilarious, and they think the way that you create these, I don't know, scenarios in your mind. Like you have a very incredible mind, and you're very intelligent and very, very imaginative. You got a lot of vibrancy going on in your mind. And you might also have really deep thoughts that maybe you don't even share with people. Like I feel like Spirit's saying there's something about your mind which is untapped or like almost can't be shared. Like the extent of your mind cannot quite be shared in the earth realm, and can really only be appreciated from Spirit and from Spirit's eyes, through the eyes of like your Spirit team, the only ones that can really see like the labyrinth of your mind and how it goes off in like several kilometers in every direction. Like you just have a massive brain. You got a massive brain, you're very smart. Spirit thinks you're really funny, and that the way that you kind of narrate even your life is funny. Like, you know, I'm getting the energy of, you know, a character in a TV show when sometimes they have like the inner dialogue in their mind kind of as a voiceover while they're like going through the world, and it's really funny. It's usually like something really comedic. Like you have that kind of energy. It's very magnetic, very comedic, the way that you kind of narrate your life. Spirit saying they love to watch it, they love to listen. Your guides think you're really fascinating, and they really enjoy your life and being there for you, like as your Spirit team. Like I'm getting strong energy from guides now. It's like they really want you to know that they never judge you for if you make choices that might turn out to be like a learning decision, you know, one of those kinds of ones where it's like, oh, okay, I learned something really massive here. Spirit's saying like they never want you to feel like you're judged for that, because you're not. And especially your team, like they really want you to know that they really love you unconditionally, and the way that they see you is so beautiful and so pure, and like kind of just very just like they see you like, and you know, they see you in kind of a very pure way, kind of like the way that when a child is like learning to walk, you know, you're not going to judge the child, right? If they like can't, if they can't walk straight away, like they're still learning, you know, you just encourage them and show them how incredible they're doing because they're in that process of learning. And even if they fall, they get back up again and they still keep going. And that's how you learn, and that's how you grow, and that's how you ascend. So I'm kind of seeing that child analogy as like kind of being like your ascension journey. Like Spirit doesn't want you to judge yourself on your ascension journey for the way that things unfold, because you have a way of always getting back on your feet. Like you're very resilient, and it's okay if sometimes you stumble or fall during this process, during this life, because we're in duality. And the Gemini energy is like the twins. You know, I'm kind of getting a duality energy from Gemini today with your group. So it's like you might experience both sides of duality. I mean, everyone does, right? I mean, right? Until you like reach enlightenment, and then it's a different consciousness experience where it's more like unity consciousness and you don't experience that harshness of duality really. But anyway, I feel like Spirit's saying don't judge yourself for duality because you're existing within it. And so I feel like sometimes you can be hard on yourself, maybe, and as well, Spirit's saying Spirit sees you overthinking and ruminating. Like Spirit can see you overthinking and ruminating on things where you keep overthinking on something and you think about it obsessively, and it's really hard for you to let it go and kind of soothe your mind. So Spirit's saying like one thing to do in that moment is to make sure you're not judging yourself or shaming yourself or blaming yourself, because I think you can be really hard on yourself and maybe even really critical on yourself about your self-expression or about like something you've said in a relation. Like you might look back on something you said and be like, oh my gosh, I was such an idiot. I can't believe that I said that. You might like really be harsh on yourself about your communication with the world or with others. And Spirit's saying that it's like largely really not necessary for you to feel that way. Like a lot of the feelings you're having are coming from yourself and not so much coming from others. Like what I mean by that is if you know, go out to dinner with all these new friends that you don't really know very well, and then you say something that you look back on the next day and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. Or you feel like you overshared, or you feel like you made a fool of yourself, or you embarrassed someone, or you offended somebody. Spirit's saying like a lot of this is actually in your own head and it's not actually really happening. Like all those people at that dinner are not going around thinking, oh my God, I can't believe that person said that thing, or I'm so offended, or anything. They're not thinking that. They're actually just like, oh, this person has their own, like there's something about people who really respect your opinions, and you don't realize that is not enough. Spirit saying you don't realize people actually respect what you have to say, even if they don't agree, or even if it does trigger them. I think you have a wisdom energy in you that people actually pay attention to more than you realize. And Spirit's saying you really don't have to like second guess yourself, because I'm really getting that with the Gemini energy. It's like you might be really confident and then the next day be riddled with self-doubts and be like, oh my God, I made a fool of myself, I can't believe it. And it's kind of almost like comical a little bit because of how extreme these kind of sides of you can be. Or it might be like you don't reply to someone's message and you think, oh my God, they hate me, they never want to see me again, like I can't believe I did this. And Spirit's saying like, no, they would love to hear from you again. They don't mind. Like, you know, you don't have to get so in your head that people are like hating you or judging you or criticizing you or offended by you, or they think, or they're just like offended by your existence, like how dare you. I think that this is something that is obviously like there for a reason. Like I'm not trying to like downplay the fact that this must be a really challenging thing to go through, but, and I kind of relate, I'm not gonna lie. But I just feel like there's something here Spirit saying about, maybe Spirit saying knowing that when this starts to come up, this like really overthinking or self-critical or like ruminating energy, start to be like, okay, wait, how would Spirit see me through the eyes of Spirit? Because I feel like, and maybe even praying and asking for that perspective so that you can see yourself differently. Because the truth is that most people are actually loving you and loving your expression. Like sure, some people get triggered and offended. That's going to happen here and there. But the majority of the response that I'm seeing in the world for you is positive. And Spirit wants you to know this. Spirit wants you to know that you're super lovable and likable and charismatic and charming, and people like to hear you talk and they like to communicate with you. They like to talk to you. They like to be listened to by you. They like to hear what your ideas are. And they're not so much, you know, like even if they don't have the same interests or ideas or beliefs, I just feel like there's a way that you can present yourself that's very accessible and people don't find it super offensive, like even if they don't agree. Like Spirit really wants you to know that like you're actually more, more likable than you realize, because I think it's something like you might be really like Spirit saying you're too harsh on yourself. Like it's this energy coming through again where it's like you're too harsh on yourself. Like you might think, oh my gosh, I told this person that I hate like red I hate red sweaters, and then the next day, I saw them wearing a red sweater, and I know that they hate me now. It's something like that where Spirit's like, no, they don't mind. They don't mind if you don't like red sweaters, and they enjoyed hearing you talk about it, even if they don't agree and they like to wear red sweaters themselves. That's okay. Like Spirit's saying it's something like that. So Spirit wants you to see through the eyes of Spirit, like how popular you are socially, how much people like you, how much your self-expression is welcomed and encouraged by the people in your life, as well as by Spirit, of course. And just that you have this brilliance about you that people just love. Like it's not just Spirit that enjoys your sense of humor, it's everybody. Okay, so let's see what else wants to come through for your group on how are you seen through the eyes of Spirit. Wow. I feel like Spirit really sees you with the eagle here, spirit integrity and connection to the angelic realm. Like you are kind of a bit of a spirit guide on the earth plane. Like Spirit sees you your spirit guides kind of see you very, like they see you as a spiritual being on the earth, incarnate on the earth. Like they see you as one of them, but on the earth, on the side of the veil that's on the earth side. Yeah, like they see you as a spirit guide, but just on the earth side. That's very coming through very clearly, and they want you to kind of know that, because I think sometimes you can place like spirit guides as kind of superior to yourself or something like this, and Spirit's saying it's more equal to you than you realize. Like that's interesting. Okay, so with the focus card, I'm also getting a scattered energy, like a scatterbrain energy, and I feel like there's something here Spirit saying about focusing, like Spirit saying through the eyes of Spirit, Spirit saying that you would do better to just focus on one task at a time, and to do things like put your phone on do not disturb and give yourself like a certain period of time where you focus on a task in the morning or something, because I'm just getting that you're kind of like really multifaceted, and you might also be really good at multitasking, and you might have a lot of things going at once. A lot of things like cooking on the stove all at once, and you're kind of like managing all of these different things. And Spirit's saying you are naturally really good at that. But sometimes you rely upon natural ability a little bit too much. And it might kind of like become a bit overwhelming. So Spirit's saying that Spirit sees that what would help you right now is to feel more focused and have a bit more clarity, because you have this brilliant mind and it can become overwhelming quickly, right? You have this intelligence and it can become like, oh my God, just too much going on at once, right? So there's something here about focus, like one task at a time, because I kind of feel like you might, it's like, oh, now I have to respond to this text, and now I have to answer this person's email. Now I have to, it's like kind of that kind of energy where it's like you have to be on 24/7, or you manage a job that's like got multiple different things, or you've got like multiple different priorities in your life, like work, children, health, like all these different things going on. I'm just seeing busyness in your energy field. And I just feel the message from Spirit to focus one thing at a time, and maybe even giving yourself some time of quietness, like in the mornings, or meditation practice or something, to bring more clarity in, because you're busy. Spirit feels a little bit sometimes like it's hard to communicate sometimes with you, because there's so much busyness going on, and you're always thinking about something, and you always want to be stimulated, like give me more information. I want to know more things, and so I guess Spirit's saying that Spirit's always there. Like you can check in, and you can realize that, like, I think sometimes I feel like maybe you're a bit afraid of the silence, or of the meditation, or of the stillness, or of like not having someone to talk to, or not doing the like sitting still. There might be a restlessness energy sometimes, and Spirit's saying that when you turn to Spirit in that moment, like Spirit will be there. And you can do that more often than you realize, and it will feel good. It won't feel like, I think there's a fear like deep down where it's like, well, if I really turn to Spirit in that moment, like what if Spirit's not there? What if I can't access the divine in that moment? What if there's not anything there to meet me? And Spirit's saying like you have Spirit inside of you, so you can always access this. So I feel there's a message here with the focus card of like, come back into balance sometimes when you feel scatterbrained, or you're ruminating, or your mind feels like a burden rather than a privilege, because you are very smart and gifted and funny, and you know, like your inner dialogue would be like a script for a movie about someone's, you know, inner dialogue. Like, it's funny, it's really well written, even though it's actually just your brain coming up with it on the spot. So meditation or stillness or quiet, Spirit saying you don't have to be afraid that nothing's there to meet you or that you won't feel connected, because this eagle spirit integrity connection to the angelic realms, like, you are so connected. I feel like yeah, and look, clear your mind. There you go. That's the actual card that you chose, clear your mind. I think that Spirit saying Spirit can help you clear your mind more, but you just have to give them the chance. You just have to sit in that silence, or place that hand on your heart and tune in, or go into nature barefoot, or, you know, do a meditation practice, whatever it is for you that makes you feel connected, and kind of in that stillness where your mind can clear and filter out all of this busyness, because you process things really fast as well. Like, I'm seeing you take in tons of information and you process it super quick. And then you kind of, you know, I need more. Like, you're insatiable. You have so much mind power as well. You got a massive brain. Like I said, you got a lot of brain power, a lot of mind power. Like, you could stimulate your mind all day and still be able to go. But Spirit's saying it's like, also take time in not taking things in, and in silence, and in not listening to anything, and in just being in that presence, because it's going to help really transform your experience of Earth, and really also help you stay focused on your mission and on your purpose. Because I do think that something that might happen is you get so distracted by how many amazing things there are on this earth, and how many infinite possibilities that there are that we could manifest with, and there's so much abundance, and there's so many different timelines, and there's so much different things to explore and learn about and create. And Spirit's like, yes, and remember that there's also like your highest timeline, like the path that's meant for you. And I think that staying focused, like through, like I said, just through connecting to Spirit, whatever way that makes you feel connected and grounded, and like your mind has clarity and has cleared, keep doing that, because it's going to help you stay on track and on your path. Because yeah, I do think sometimes your guides are like, oh my god, they're getting distracted again, they're going over here. And you're like, no, it's a great idea, 100%. And then you're like, wait a minute, okay, yeah, that was a little bit of a wild goose chase, and now I'm back to the beginning again. So Spirit's like, if you just slow down a little bit, be a little bit less impulsive, and just check in for that moment, you'll know straight away, like, oh yeah, this isn't actually right for me. I'm not going to spend my time kind of chasing after this thing. There's something about this, the distractions can be eliminated if you check in a little bit more with Spirit and be like, oh yeah, right, no, sorry, can't come, but sounds great. You know, before you like drop everything and book flights overseas and then realize, oh, wait a minute, I can't go, and then you lose money on flights. Like, it's something like this where it's saying like, you can just check in a little bit more and things will kind of go a little bit more smoothly. All right, group 2, that's all we have time for today, but I so enjoyed tuning in for you. And if you are interested in checking out more of my work or booking a reading with me, all the information is in the description box below. Much love. So group 3, I feel your spirit guides coming through really strongly, and they want you to know that you're never alone. You're never alone. No matter what you're feeling or going through in life, you're never alone. They're always with you. And I feel them with you in an emotional way. Like, I feel them feel your emotions with you. They feel the joy, and they feel like the highs, and they also feel the heartbreaks and the sorrows and the pain and the fear and the doubts, and they feel all of it with you. Like, they want you to know that you are not alone in your feelings. That's something very specific coming through, because I think that obviously the experience of Earth, like the emotional experience of Earth is, you know, well, right? Holy moly. It's really full on. So I feel like you really have that experience of like this emotional experience of Earth. Like, you feel things really deeply, and you feel things, you're very sensitive, and it's also part of, I think, your psychic abilities. Partly like these feelings that you have, you really honor your feelings. You're very good at emotionally healing. That's another thing Spirit's saying. Spirit sees you honoring your feelings. Spirit sees that you process your feelings really deeply, and that you do a lot of work to heal on this earth. You do a lot of work to heal yourself, and you even alchemize energy for other people that you love as well. I feel like you do this healing work for others, like kind of subconsciously. I just saw a blue orb when I said that, so that's confirmation. So yeah, you do a lot of healing work for this earth, not just for yourself. And Spirit wants you to know that and see that. But yeah, there's something about, sometimes I think the emotional experience of Earth can feel too much, and like really, just wanting to escape it kind of thing. But Spirit's saying, like, just know that your spirit guides are with you and they feel everything that you can feel, but they're just feeling it on the other side of the veil. For some reason, it's really important that you know that. So let's find out, what do you mean, Spirit? Why do you want them to know that? Seven of Pentacles. And the Seven of Swords. Okay, so they're saying that sometimes you think that it would be easier to be on the side of Spirit, on the side of the veil that's on Spirit's side. And Spirit saying it's not true. Okay, really interesting message. I'm going to try and break it down a little bit more. It's like, I feel sometimes you're feeling that the situation on Earth is just really intense, and this dimension is just like a lot to deal with, and the emotional experience is hardly worth it. When you start to feel like, is this place even worth it? Oh my gosh, I'm doing all this work, I'm going through all this stuff, like, am I even going to get anywhere here? It's that kind of feeling where you're really starting to question things, and you're like, Spirit, is this a joke? Like, what's going on down here? And you might kind of feel like, oh, Spirit has it easy, or Spirit guides, like, kind of personified, like, my spirit guides have it easier than I do, kind of thing. And Spirit's kind of wanting to clear this up and be like, no, we don't, because we actually feel everything that you feel. Like, your spirit guides are feeling everything that you feel. They're going through everything that you go through, but they're just going through it in a different way, like from the non-physical. And I guess there's also a message here about, like, we can't really, like, there's not really, there is and there isn't, like, it's different. Spirit's saying it is different, but there's also at the same time, like, we don't really escape anything when we go to non-physical. Like, it's not as much of an escape as you think it is, Spirit's saying. Spirit wants you to know that, because there's something about the emotions that is still felt and resonated on that side. And this is true as well if you've had a, like, loved one pass over to non-physical. Like, there's something about, they still feel the feelings as well. They still feel the feelings of grief, and they miss you and these things as well. It's not like they're kind of, there's something about seeing it differently, because for some reason it's become, Seven of Swords is like when things can become distorted in our mind. It's something about maybe being a bit distorted in your mind about, like, how good it must be on the other side. And whilst, like, I feel like it objectively is very different, right? It's like higher dimensional frequency, it's, non-physical energy, it's very, very different. So of course, in a way, it would be better. But Spirit's saying, like, it's not so much the way that you think it is, though, because there's still emotions on that side. There's still soul legacy on that side. We still have to kind of deal with and take responsibility for the things that we have done, or the things that, the emotional baggage that we have accumulated. So there's not really an escape. So, with the Pisces energy, the shadow energy of Pisces can be like, we want to escape from reality. Where, like, reality is too painful or traumatic or disappointing or whatever, that it's like, I'd rather escape into those higher dimensions through drugs, alcohol, like whatever kind of escapist kind of things that people can do to get there, whatever it can take, whatever it takes. So Spirit's saying that sometimes I think in your mind, or like Spirit sees that you think in a way where you really maybe think that the non-physical is like a lot better, or that it's like, or maybe even you think like that it's more spiritual to be like a spirit guide than to be a human incarnate. And Spirit's saying it's not like that at all, because you have to have a certain grit and like strength to be able to incarnate on this side of the veil that you're on in the human realm. So Spirit's always saying to, like, don't put yourself in a hierarchy, I suppose, with Spirit or with spirit guides, because Spirit wants you to see it as being more equal, or see it as there's so much more bleed through between these two worlds. I guess it's like sometimes we can think, oh, if I was in non-physical, then suffering wouldn't exist. And it's like, well, yes and no. Like, Spirit's saying it's hard to explain through English kind of language, like the limitations of like our words. But it's Spirit wants to show it as like energy, where I'm seeing this kind of like infinity symbol going between, like, imagine there's a veil, and on one side of the veil is this reality, and the other side of the veil is non-physical reality. Spirit showing me it's like an infinity symbol, and Spirit showing me like you're within one side of the infinity symbol, and like your spirit guides are within the other side. So it's like the experience is one. It's not so much like separate or different. as in your mind you see it this way. And Spirit really wants you to not see it this way, because there can be this idealization of the spirit side, but it's like there's some more equality to it than we realize. There's more as above, so below going on than we can really comprehend. Okay, what else would you like group 3 to know, Spirit, about how you see them through the eyes of Spirit, your Spirit team? The 5 of Swords and the Chariot. Okay, so what I'm getting from that is that they're saying something like, you actually get a lot more out of duality. I just saw an orb. Yeah, okay. You get a lot more out of duality than you realize. So they see you with the 5 of Swords, like struggling with duality, because obviously I know how it is. I'm here as well. It is a very challenging thing to go through. But they see you struggling with it with the 5 of Swords and kind of like resisting duality. And they're saying that through the eyes of Spirit, they see duality in a different way. Through the eyes of non-physical, like even they're showing me your eyes on your life, kind of like pre-incarnation, like you seeing things about what it would be like in this dimension, like seeing it through that lens. They're showing me this because they're saying that you have this wisdom inside of you, this ability to kind of work your way through duality and, you know, with the Chariot, really find an empowerment here, or find a way, like, I don't know, there's something about you're going to grow within duality and you're going to change the way that you see it even in your lifetime. You know, it's making me think of people who've had like near-death experiences where they have almost actually died for a period of time and then come back into their body again and come back to life. And they always have these really profound experiences of like understanding duality and understanding, you know, that highest high perspective, the most high. Or even, you know, people who do kind of like DMT even. It's like that kind of energy that I'm getting from your group where I feel like there's something here about you understanding duality from like the highest, most high point, where you understand how it's actually serving or beneficial. And Spirit's saying like Spirit sees this in you, but Spirit also sees how it's also very challenging to go through it, right? It's both at once. But there is some message here about Spirit sees you are going to, Spirit showing me your future as well, and how you're going to have a time in your life where you've really kind of, I don't know, like overcome duality, or like come to a point in duality where you're peaceful about it, or you get like a really deep download and write like a huge book about duality or something, and understanding like how does it work and how does it serve us. You either already understand or you're going to understand something about duality that changes your perception on the suffering that you have gone through in life, and really changes your perception, like I said, to the point where you could be a very deep spiritual teacher about this, or you could help others. Kind of like how, I don't know if you've ever heard someone who's had a near-death experience where they've literally died and been in that non-physical place and then come back here. Like they have such a different perspective on what goes on here. They have such a different perspective and like love for this realm, which I think is, you know, is really beautiful, and it's a gift when they share their story. And I think there's something about your energy that's either already doing this and downloading this kind of insights, or is going to in your life. And you're going to kind of offer this to the world in a way, and give a lot of like hope and inspiration. And especially like because I feel you are someone who's gone through a lot of things, and maybe there were times which you really didn't want to be here. And that's why I felt there was such a strong idealization of like the other side, you know, or you might have lost someone very much that you love to like the other side, or you might be in touch with, you know, crossed over spirits from the other side, you know. I feel you have something about this where you've kind of yearned or longed for this energy. But it's Spirit saying it's so different when you, like, again, I'm getting the energy of like someone having a near-death experience, how there's a lot of the times they'll be shown that they have a choice. Like this seems to be a theme that they always talk about, because I've listened to a few stories now, not that many, but a few. They seem to have this theme where they'll be given a choice of like, do you want to go back to your earth life and kind of like complete, you know, certain cycles that you're working on or whatever. And they almost always like, well, if they're telling the story right, they say yes, they do want to, because they feel this, once they're away from that dimension, they feel this compelling energy like to want to come back because you see it differently. And again, I've like heard people who have done DMT before, like, you know, the real kind of like 5-MeO kind of like, whoa, kind of experience. I've heard them talk about it, and the way they talk about duality is very different. It's a different experience. They have a different perspective because they've been up in that very, very high frequency, and it just changes you. So the perspective of spirit is that very, very, very high frequency, that very, very highest perspective upon duality, upon the things that are going on here. So yeah, you're in touch with that really high perspective. And again, I'm being shown your spirit team. They're kind of showing me it as if you're kind of like from, you know, the movie The Matrix, and how I think it's in the first movie when they have like the whole team that's sort of like back, and they like stay out of the Matrix, but then like a few agents will go in, like Neo will go into the Matrix with Trinity or whatever, and then they'll be like talking to Morpheus, who's like outside of the Matrix, and they're like, Morpheus, I gotta get out of here or whatever. You know, it's that kind of energy where I feel like you are kind of in the Matrix, right, in this dimension, and your spirit team are really literally a team. Like you are one team. And I feel like in a way you've taken it in turns to be on this side and the other side. And I think you have a lot like deep memory of being a spirit guide as well, and having broken free from the Matrix, so to speak. Like I feel like you woke up to the Matrix kind of energy really early in this life and kind of saw through a lot of things. And I think it's because like partly, well, you're just that kind of soul, but also partly because I think you have like memory of being a spirit guide like really recently, and you remember being on the other side of the Matrix and kind of helping someone navigating on this side and doing their mission. So your spirit guides really want you to know that you are one, like you're one team, and they're never not with you, or they're never not feeling what you're feeling or going through what you're going through. Okay, so final cards for group number 3, Spirit. Let your fears dissolve. Okay, we're going to do a few more than I thought then. We got some more coming through, I can feel it. Okay. I think we're going to do... Sorry, I'm always hitting the wrong tripod. Okay, we're going to do one more. You got all the water signs here. You got Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer. Look, you got a trine. You got like a trine energy. It looks like kind of like a trine. So Spirit sees you as being very emotionally evolved and really able to feel things. Like I think that what Spirit's showing me through the eyes of Spirit's showing me your energy and how you might feel like you're a very emotional person, or a very sensitive person, or a very, I don't know, someone who feels a lot of things. But Spirit's saying that this is actually more of a just genuine experience of emotions on earth, because what Spirit's showing me is that most people actually numb their emotions and like don't feel them because they're too painful to feel, basically. So I'm feeling like a lot of people on the earth, I'm just being shown, they like tune out, they turn off, they tap out, they're like, no, I'm not feeling this, they numb out, they do whatever they can to kind of avoid that emotional processing. Whereas you are just like constantly moving through. I'm being shown in colors. Like imagine like watercolor painting, like you know how all the water in the paint, it kind of like bleeds through into each other. Like Spirit's showing me all these different colors, and how your emotional landscape is like this watercolor painting, and it's constantly changing in colors as you're moving through different things. Maybe Spirit's showing me that maybe you've compared yourself to other people's emotional experience on earth and been like, oh, mine must be wrong, or something. Because a lot of people don't feel things really deeply, or they're able to kind of, I don't know, manage things in a different way. But Spirit's saying that you were never kind of allowed to numb your emotions in a certain way. Like you were always meant to feel them, because that's part of your deepest gift. It seems to be something to do with your ability to feel, honor your feelings. Like so many people do not honor their feelings, and they can't. And that's what Spirit really honors in you, is your ability to feel things and the strength that it takes. Because some people mistaken people who are quite emotionally sensitive as being weak, but it's actually extreme strength to be able to feel that much and to be able to sit with that much intensity, whereas most people just, you know, they just tap out, like I was saying. So you are like a leader in terms of your emotional work that you do. And I do think like within this lifetime, look, find a balance. Spirit saying, don't worry, like you've got this full moon. See, the full moon is the balance card, which is like the completion energy. You're going to find balance. You're going to find karmic completion with any of the pain that you might have associated with this, you know, emotional experience on earth. I'm seeing, yeah, you've definitely been through a lot of stuff. Spirit's acknowledging that, but Spirit's saying, because Spirit keeps wanting you to see it through the eyes of Spirit. Well, that's what this reading is, right? But Spirit keeps wanting you to see it through the eyes of Spirit, to say that this pain that you go through and the fact that you feel things so deeply and you process things so much and you heal things so often, like you're just constantly healing things for yourself and for others and for the earth, like you're just a healer energy. Spirit's saying that you might think that sometimes this is a weakness in you, but it's actually your greatest strength. You might think that this is, you know, a source of challenge, but it's actually going to be your source of most abundance and optimism and hope, because the amount that you are alchemizing is going to give way to such a life of beauty and love. Because if we don't alchemize this pain that we carry within us, even from past lives and from this life traumas in the emotional body, if we don't alchemize it, then it just stays and it burdens our life and it drains our life force, and if we carry it in and across and to another incarnation and then to another incarnation, and the heaviness and the weight of it is just so unbearable. So it's like you are literally freeing yourself. Like the work that you're doing, Spirit honors you, because you're also getting somewhere and you're going to have an amazing result from doing this level of emotional healing that you're doing, and it's healing the earth as well. So I just feel there's a perspective thing, Spirit saying, like if you could see it through Spirit's eyes, you would see yourself so differently. You would see your strength, and you would see how what you perceive as your greatest challenge is actually your greatest blessing. It's the greatest offering that you have as a soul. So assess the situation is really like, look, the Pisces energy, there's someone depicted like meditating, and then here again there's someone depicted meditating, and Pisces and Virgo are sister signs, so they're very deeply connected. So you're very deeply psychic as well with those two energies showing up. Like you are very extremely psychic. So there's something else Spirit wants you to know through the eyes of Spirit, is like the way that you are wired is perfect. Because I feel like sometimes you're like, oh my God, there's something going wrong with me. And I do understand, like Spirit saying yes, in terms of sometimes there sometimes there are things that need to be healed and overcome, and like traumas to let go of. And in that case, it's like, yeah, something is wrong, right? Something doesn't feel right. It is wrong. But in terms of the way that you prioritize your emotions and you do all this emotional healing and this alchemy work and you feel things at a deep level, like that's not wrong. You're meant to be like this. So I think sometimes there's this feeling in you of like, that something's going wrong. I'm not meant to be this emotional or this sensitive or something, or this dramatic, or whatever it might have been. You know, you might have been told that you're too much or too dramatic or too emotional or too sensitive, whatever it might be. And Spirit's saying you're not too much of anything. Like if you could assess the situation through the eyes of Spirit, you would see like, oh, I'm actually wired perfectly for my mission. Like you're going to see I'm wired perfectly for my mission. It makes so much sense. And it's kind of like, imagine a psychic that wasn't sensitive enough to pick up the messages from Spirit. Well, they wouldn't be a very good psychic, would they? You know what I mean? Like Spirit's saying there's something about this where it's like you need to be sensitive for a reason. There's a reason that it's going to unfold, and you're going to see it in a different way. You're going to see it through the eyes of Spirit, because there's like a plan. Like remember I saw you looking at the plan you made for your life before incarnation, pre-incarnation. With the full moon in Libra card, like that's karmic completion, meaning you're going to see the end of that plan. You're going to see why were you designed this way? Why did you go through all these things? Why are you so sensitive, and why are you so psychic, and why are you so all these things? It's like, oh, it's actually perfect, and you're going to see the divine perfection. And that's how I see you're also going to forgive duality and understand duality from a different perspective, because you're embodying it from a different perspective. You're literally seeing, like, this is a huge transformation. This could be, this is a profound ascension that I'm feeling in your energy body. Like this is really overcoming duality and finding like literally a different consciousness within this realm, and living with that, within that consciousness. So very spiritual group, incredible reading. I feel that is the end though. But yeah, it was so enjoyable to tune in for you. And if you would like to check out more of my work, then please see the links in the description box below. Much love. Bye. Group number 4. So Spirit wants you to know through the eyes of Spirit that Spirit sees you as groundbreaking. Groundbreaking, breaking ground, changing, creating a consciousness shift on the earth, like doing work in this realm to change reality and to heal this world and to uplift this world. So you're showing up as a full moon in Virgo, so you are a master healer and also a master like psychic. Like Virgo energy is actually very psychic. It's the sister sign to Pisces, and it's psychic in a way that's earth kind of bound, so it's a little bit more like, I don't know, practical in the psychic stuff. Pisces can be taken off into like interdimensional travel so easily, like in a heartbeat, and that can be a lot to ground. But they're both incredibly psychic, and you know, both of them together is like kind of a beautiful combination. So I kind of feel like a Pisces energy for you as well as this Virgo energy. Anyway, I'm feeling psychic energy, and I'm feeling like Spirit saying that you are creating a huge amount of change. Like this is how Spirit and your Spirit team sees you, is like you're a change, you're a leader, you're a change creator, and you're a leader, and you're creating like the new earth, you're creating a new consciousness, you're birthing a new consciousness. There's like a fertility energy I'm feeling here. There could be something here about children or the way that you're raising children that Spirit's seeing as creating this new earth consciousness as well, because of the love that you're having, or it might be part of your destiny or something like this, but not for everyone. You know, I'm just seeing that specific kind of fertility kind of energy coming through around this creation energy. It's like you're creating change and you're creating this new consciousness. You're creating it through this love and this care and this healing, and also these psychic downloads. So Spirit's saying you're very, very psychic. Like Spirit sees you as very psychic, kind of very fun to communicate with you. As I'm seeing it shown, I'm seeing as if I'm your spirit guide, and it's like really fun to interact with you. It's like, oh, I'm going to leave them this little sign and they're going to pick it up, and they're going to have so much joy, or they're going to have so much surprise, or they're going to laugh, or something like this. Like I think that your spirit guides really enjoy to make you laugh, or to make you feel joy or surprise or something like this. They really enjoy to interact with you, and they really love, you're very gracious, you're very kind to them as well. Like I feel like you're very grateful towards Spirit. You're very always thanking, a lot of respect and love towards Spirit. And I just think that they see you as very like gentle and loving and towards them, and they really like to be in relationship with you. Like I feel like the relationship that you have with your spirit guides and with Spirit is very beautiful, and they see you as very beautiful, and they see your relationship that you have as very sacred and very beautiful. So they see you as here to achieve like massive things on this earth. Like you have a massive mission, massive, and I don't know why I keep saying the word massive, because it's not really a word I use very often, but yeah, you've got a massive mission. It's huge. It's humongous. It's really, really big. It feels like a whole universe within this one mission of yours that you're doing right now. So yeah, for some reason, you're just showing up as bringing huge waves of change throughout the consciousness of this earth. Like you're really changing things. Spirit sees you as literally doing this change, creating change on the earth. Like I'm seeing your energy, and then I'm seeing how your energy ripples out and it surrounds the entire earth with like these different colored energies, these different, like you're influencing, you're an influencer maybe as well. Maybe that's like literally your job or something, but there's something here about you're meant to influence energy, and you're meant to maybe be a leader, a thought leader, or groundbreaking. You're meant to trailblaze. You're meant to be some of the leaders of the new earth, I feel, from this group. So yeah, Spirit sees you as having an amazing mission. I feel like everyone's like super excited. You know, everyone's like, here we are, we're doing our mission, we're doing it. Oh my gosh, like it's kind of giving me the energy of, you know how when there's like an adventure group and they have to plan their mission. Like I'm thinking about if they were to like climb, you know, Mount Everest or something. It's like you have to plan that mission you have to plan that for a while, and then once you actually get to base camp and you're like, oh my god, here we go, we're gonna do it, let's go. It's like there's such a different energy that kind of comes in, and that's the energy I'm getting. It's like you guys are kind of at base camp right now in your mission and you're like, here we go, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do the ascent. Or like you might be at camp 3 or camp 4, like I don't know where you're at exactly, but for a lot of you I feel some kind of like base camp, like you're still on the foundation of your mission or something. And keep in mind, like a lot of your mission might be in the planning or in the prep kind of energy right now, and that's still okay. Like there's something here about sometimes like you know, the actual time that it takes to climb the mountain, right, is not very long, but the actual time it takes to prepare is very, very long. Do you know what I mean? So there's something here about it's okay if you're in the preparation mode, because things can still happen quite quickly. Anyway, so take inspired action. Like, I think you always act from inspired action, but Spirit's still reminding you that remember how it feels when you take action from your inspiration, or you take action from a place of flow. And with Virgo, like, there is still, because Virgo is the energy of like our daily routines, and kind of like sometimes when we do a routine, we're not really inspired necessarily to do it. We're just doing it because we do it every time. Like, you know, when you brush your teeth, like, you're not necessarily feeling like, oh, I'm so inspired to brush my teeth right now. Like, maybe sometimes, but I think most of the time it's just this kind of mundane routine thing that you just do because you do it, and it's just inbuilt into your life that you always brush your teeth at a certain time. So there's something here about Spirit saying your routines really serve you. Like, you're really good at doing routines, and sometimes things need to be routine so that we aren't waiting for inspiration or motivation in order to get it done, because you're really good at taking inspired action, but Spirit's saying inspired action doesn't always work for absolutely everything. Like, sometimes things have to be more about routine. And I think that sometimes this might be like a distinction that Spirit's saying needs to be had, because you might be waiting. I'm seeing them being like, oh, they're I'm seeing your Spirit team and they're like, oh, they're waiting for a sign that they're meant to like take action. But then it's like something about they saying that you're meant to just take the action anyway, even if you don't feel like hugely inspired, because something about taking action sometimes leads to inspiration later. You know, like, you might not 100% feel like working out, right? But then if you just work out, then you're going to feel better. Like, you know, how that often is the case, right? Spirit saying it's something like this, where it's like, you don't always have to wait for the inspiration, because sometimes the inspiration comes during or after, or even never, but it's still good to brush your teeth, right? Okay, so let's see what else your Spirit team wants you to know. Through the eyes of Spirit, what do you want group 4 to know? Aw, the dog, loyalty, sincerity, and unconditional love. Man, they really love you, and they just see you as this loyalty, sincerity, unconditional love. Like, yeah, you are really loyal to your mission. Wow. The swan, transformation and trusting the psychic gifts. Oh my gosh. Wow, you are seen as so divine. I'm hearing you're one of us, so they really see you as soul family. Like, they see you as an extension of their own energy. There's something, yeah, it's very beautiful. The way that they see you in this earth plane is like so divine. They really feel like you bring so much divinity, this unconditional love that you have. And then look back of the deck here, we have the novice, innocence, beginner, ignorance, a new skill without practice, unstable, curiosity. So I feel like they do feel like you have this novice energy, but it brings so much innocence into your energy field that they just love it. Like, especially with the dog spirit, like, this is such an innocent, loving, pure vibration. So as well with the swan spirit, didn't I tell you they love talking to you because you're so psychic and you're so able to kind of like hear the messages and communicate and be in contact? I think that there's this real joy, like, they get just as much of joy out of communication with you as you do from this side of the veil, and they get just as much love that you do from this side of the veil. When you feel that love and that gratitude towards Spirit, towards your guides, it's like it is 100% felt on the other side as well and mirrored. Like, I just feel it the same way. They feel the same way. They just love you so much. They really want you to know that, like, how much you're just surrounded by love and by light all the time. You're just so unconditionally loving, and they're so unconditionally loving back of you. And they really just appreciate the relationship that you have, and the way that you really, the innocence in which you go about your earthly life and your daily life on earth and your mission. Like, you really navigate it with so much integrity and so much grace, and they're really proud of you, and they're proud of the way that you navigate this realm and the amount of work that you do, and how dedicated you are, and how much you stay in alignment with your integrity, but also how you have this kind of novice energy, which is like your willingness to try and to fail and to just keep going, and the innocence that you bring to being like, yeah, like, the hope can keep renewing in you kind of like endlessly. Like, you have so much optimism and hope, and I think this connection with your spirit team and with Spirit really helps you with this, and it helps you to be such a force of healing onto this earth as well. I think that there could be a sense of protection now that I'm feeling from your spirit team, where maybe sometimes your innocence has led you to kind of not being kind of self-protective enough, like maybe trusting someone who wasn't honest and kind of assuming that everyone's honest because you're being honest kind of thing, that kind of innocence, even naivety. And I feel like maybe through experiences, this has changed for you, like it always does. But they're saying something about how you still kind of have that wholeness in you of that innocence, even though you've learned about discernment and boundaries and, you know, maybe like, you know, had the narcissist awakening thing where you're like, oh my God, now I understand all these things and all of this kind of, you have a lot more, you know, street smarts and like maturity and wisdom kind of thing on this earth plane. But the thing is that you still have this innocence somehow. Like you still have this light intact in you. You still have this love intact in you. You still have this ability to keep dreaming and to keep dreaming big and to keep believing in the possibility of love and healing, not only for yourself, but for others in your life and for the earth itself. Spirit's saying, do you know how powerful that is? Do you know how powerful that is to hold that frequency on this earth amongst, you know, all of the turmoil? And it's like, it didn't even show up in your reading all of this turmoil of this earth plane because you have, I don't know, this ability somehow to stay so much in the light and in the love. Like as you're going through things, you like I said, you maintain this innocence and you learn and you become more mature and like discerning, but you don't let it change you, or you don't let it make you bitter or resentful, or even if you have in life, because that's understandable if you've gone through periods of that. You reach a level of release and letting go very quickly, or you will in the future if you're still struggling with this. It's like totally, you know, fine. But it's just that this innocence will always be preserved. Even if sometimes you feel like resentful or something like this, you'll always come back to this innocence and this kind of unconditional love, you know, the purity of a child. So it's very, very special energy that you have. Okay, so why don't we pull some more cards to see how Spirit sees you? Burden. Yeah, there's that protection energy that I was talking about. They're like, hey, can we protect you a bit better? Because I think they've had to, I think it was hard for them sometimes to like watch you have to go through this dimension, because they knew that it could easily have been them as well. Like there's something about feeling like you are all one with your spirit team, like you're all experiencing it as one. It's a bit of an energy similar to group 3 actually, if you felt drawn to that card as well, because there's the Pisces Virgo sister signs thing that I was saying as well, so you might feel drawn to that too. Okay, so with the wounded human ego, the goblin spirit coming through, and then the water fairy feelings and emotions, it's making me think of, because you chose the Virgo card, it's making me think of perfectionism. And I feel like Spirit wants you to know that you don't have to be perfect on this earth plane. Because like what I was saying just then, it was like so angelic, so perfect, so amazing, you're so divine, you're so beautiful, you're so all of these things, which is true. And then it's so funny because now we've got like that and the goblin, and it's like, oh, let's explore this side too then. So I feel like Spirit's saying like it's okay to have a wounded side of you. It's okay to have these like low vibrational emotions, right? It's okay to feel things like jealousy or envy or resentment or bitterness or whatever it might be. Like that is part of the earth experience at this point. And as you are alchemizing and healing and moving through it, it's extremely valuable that you're doing this. And Spirit wants you to kind of like change your perspective on it, because I think that with the Virgo energy, it's like you want to be perfect. And I think that you even maybe want to be spiritually perfect. And Spirit's saying like you can't be, you're on the earth dimension, do you know what I mean? So Spirit's saying like let yourself off the hook, plus you're going through a transformation with the Swan card being like the card that they came under. This is all part of the transformation and the alchemy, and you need these goblin energies to use as the fuel for the alchemy. Otherwise, what would you use? So it's like, forgive yourself for being a human and being in this dimension right now, because I do feel like you're so pure, you're so light, you're so incredible, that it might sometimes be, you know, such a contrast that you're like, oh my gosh, something's gone wrong, or I've done something wrong, it must be my fault, all these things. Maybe feeling shame, feeling not good enough. Spirit's saying just really treat the wounded human ego in yourself like with the care and grace that you would of a small child who was going through different emotions, because you do have an inner child in you. And that's how I like to see this goblin card, because it can be kind of confronting sometimes to see this card come out, but then it's like, oh, but it's so lovable. Like, don't you think it has kind of a cute energy as well? It kind of has this like little child kind of energy that's throwing a tantrum, and it's like, oh yeah, I see, I understand kind of thing. So as well with the protection card and the burden card, it's like your innocence, like your ability to be loyal. Yeah, okay. So Spirit's saying that there's something here around they see you being loyal to people that maybe don't deserve your loyalty or that create a lot of a burden or a toll on you in your life. Like, I do think that you have this ability to love, this unconditional love energy, like to the point where sometimes it might create burdens because it's hard for you to let go of someone or be kind of, you know, be selfish or set a boundary and feel like you're being mean kind of thing. So there's something here about not putting yourself first enough and kind of self-sacrificing for other people. And with the protection card, Spirit saying like, I feel like there's, you know, because think about it, it's like with the dog, it's like, it's dangerous for a dog to be loyal to someone that's abusive kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, well, the dog doesn't know any better, so they're just going to do it because they love them. And so it's like, I kind of feel like you have this thing where Spirit's saying it's not really good to unconditionally love and be loyal to someone who is abusive. Like, you can love them in a way that's safe from afar, where it's like, you know, you're not getting hurt, but it's like to love them in a way that you're always showing up for them, you're always there, and you're always servicing their needs and stuff like this. Spirit's saying consider that this might be something that isn't good for you fully, like, because this unconditional love energy, like, I feel like it can be a little bit misused in the earth plane, because Spirit's kind of showing me it's like we're not meant to be unconditionally loving and forgiving all the time over and over to someone who's abusing us. Like, no, we're meant to realize that this isn't okay, and we protect ourselves. We kind of like have this self-protection energy. We leave and we put up boundaries and we move away. And then it's like, yeah, you can love someone for the pain that they're going through and the fact that they're a human, they're having a human experience, and whatever it might be that, you know, makes you forgive that person or whatever. But I just feel like there's something about it's not really okay to keep forgiving someone when they keep hurting you. Like, this is kind of a misuse of this energy that you have where you are extremely loving. And Spirit's saying it's a misuse because you're meant to have, because these relationships, even if you can unconditionally love people, they still create a burden energy in your system. They still create a burden energy. And like I said, you have a massive mission. Like, you got the full moon in Virgo and take inspired action. Like, you have a massive mission. Why do I keep saying massive? But that's what it is. It is. It's just huge. It's a huge mission. So you really can't have anything creating a burden or holding you down, because you just can't. You got too big of a mission. You got places to be. You got frequencies to embody. And if you have really low vibrational kind of relationships that you don't want to let go of because you unconditionally love them and this kind of thing, which is totally understandable, especially the way that you're wired, Spirit's just saying that there needs to be a shift in terms of seeing that you have to learn to protect yourself better from these people and from these kinds of dynamics, because it's creating more of a burden than you think, I guess, what Spirit wants to see you to see through, what Spirit can see through the eyes of Spirit. Because I think from this plane, it's like, it's just so easy to get wrapped up in unconditional love for people and kind of self-sacrifice and, you know, live with the burden of things and stuff like this. And there's something about your mission where you're going to have to confront this tendency that you have in maybe more than one relationship even, or maybe with like parents or something like this. But there's something here that will need to be confronted, Spirit saying, that you're going to see it though through the eyes of Spirit. You're going to be able to see this situation through the eyes of Spirit and see that, for example, if you do have to kind of let go of something to protect yourself because it's creating too much of a burden so you can't move forward and you can't ascend, then realize that that's for the highest good of all, because your mission is so big that it's going to impact so many people. And if you somehow like didn't do your mission because you wanted to hold on to these people that you feel loyal to, even to a fault, just like a dog will be loyal to a fault, you know what I mean? It won't, dogs don't have that level of like discernment, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm not going to do this thing you told me to do. I mean, they sometimes do that, but I'm just talking about generally there's an obedience to a dog, but it's like, well, you want to make sure your obedience is like to the right master, right? And it's like, ultimately your obedience is to God, even though I know this sounds like, oh my God, I don't want to be triggering to anyone who's come from religious past or something. But like, that's kind of how I'm trying to explain it, is like, you cannot be like obedient to an abusive person. Like, that is not a good way to use your free will, and that's going to create burden and pain in your life, and you have to be able to protect yourself. So your obedience needs to be like to your higher self, to Spirit, to God, to your mission, to what you've come here to do. Like, that's what it is that you need to kind of give this loyalty and this sincerity and this unconditional love to, so that it's not being misplaced into the arms of abusive people, or people that just generally, like, maybe it's not even, sometimes it's not even like have to be extreme abuse or something. It could just be that it's creating some kind of a burden, therefore it's not in alignment, therefore it's not going to be conducive to you creating your mission, right? Oh my gosh, group 4. I did not know we were going here, but we went there. All right, so that's your reading, and yeah, really interesting mix of energies. I do hope that you got some kind of like downloads and some, insights here. And if you would like to explore more of my work, then check out the links in the description box below. Sending you heaps of love and light.